wind rolls across the Texas plains like a slow, ancient breath, carrying the smell of dust, sun-heated earth and distant wheat. It is late afternoon, the hour when shadows grow long and the world feels both tired and awake. A U.S. Army transport truck rattles down a dirt road, its engine coughing against the heat. The canvas top flaps lazily, revealing glimpses of 30 German prisoners of war packed shoulder to shoulder, their backs straight but their faces hollowed by weeks of uncertainty. Inside, the air is thick, sweat, old canvas, the metallic scent of fear. No one speaks. The prisoners listen to the rhythmic rattle of tires over gravel, each bump jarring old bruises and new worries. They have crossed an ocean, survived storms, survived the humiliation of capture. But this unknown stretch of American land feels more terrifying than anything before. Unteroffizier Matthias Keller, 23, clenches a small object in his hand, a wooden rosary carved by his mother. The beads are warm from his palm, edges softened by years of prayer. Every bump makes the beads click softly, a rhythm, a heartbeat not his own. He whispers, voice barely more than a breath. Wie weit noch? How much farther? No one answers. They don't know. Propaganda had painted America as a land of factories churning out death, of cruel men who hated all things German. And yet, through the open slit in the canvas, Matthias sees something strange, a windmill. An old wooden windmill beside a farmhouse with a white fence. It looks like something pulled straight from rural Bavaria, a place of childhood harvests, not war. Another prisoner, Erich Baum, leans slightly forward and whispers, Sieht aus wie daheim. Looks like home. Matthias forces a thin, disbelieving smile. Sweat trickles down his neck, mixing with dust, making mud on his skin. His heart beats faster. Confusion settles in his stomach like a stone. The truck slows. A shadow crosses Matthias's face, broad, calm, human. An American guard appears at the back flap, sunlight forming a halo around him. All right, boys, he says. Welcome to your new home. His voice is not angry, not mocking, just normal. And somehow, that is the most terrifying thing of all. The truck creaks to a halt beside a wooden gate marked Camp Marston, POW labor detail. Dust swirls around the wheels like pale smoke. The prisoners blink against the sunlight, their eyes unprepared after hours beneath the dim canvas. One by one, they climb down under the watchful eyes of the guards. Matthias feels the ground shift beneath his boots. The earth here is soft, sandy, smelling faintly of hay and something sweet, maybe peaches carried on the wind. It is unsettling, this gentleness. He expected harsh soil, sharp smells, concrete, barbed wire buzzing with cruelty. Instead, he hears birds, dozens, maybe hundreds, chirping freely in the cottonwood trees lining the fence. A young guard, barely older than Matthias, gestures toward a long path. Move along. Chow hall first, orientation after. Chow hall. The word turns in Matthias's mind like a puzzle piece that doesn't fit. Eric whispers beside him. Americans eat well, I've heard. His voice carries a strange mixture of sarcasm and longing. They walk in a line, boots crunching gravel. The path leads between wide fields, rows of crops stretching into the distance. Corn, alfalfa, wheat. Matthias stares. He had expected factories, endless war machinery. Not this abundance. Healthy plants, glossy green, growing without fear of bombs or famine. How can a country at war look untouched? A diary fragment forms in his mind, half involuntary. Diary. 17 June 1944. We crossed oceans believing America was monstrous. Yet the first thing I smelled was wheat, clean, bright, alive. How can this be the enemy? They pass a farmhouse on the left. An older man steps onto the porch, wiping his hands on a towel, curiosity written across his sun-lined face. He mutters something to his wife and she nods. The husband calls out to a guard. Tell your boys they can drink from the pump if they're thirsty. Your boys, not prisoners, not Germans. Boys. Matthias feels something twist in his chest. Confusion. Maybe relief, maybe shame. He expected hatred. Instead, he finds hospitality. And that, too, is disorienting. The chow hall is a long, barn-like structure with a high ceiling and the faint, comforting smell of baked bread. As the German POWs step inside, their boots hesitate on the wooden floor. A hum of conversation fills the space. American guards chatting over trays, cooks shouting instructions, the clatter of metal utensils. But beneath it all is something even more disturbing. Warmth, normalcy, life. Matthias's stomach twists painfully. He hasn't smelled real bread in months. Not since the winter shortages. Not since the front swallowed everything bright and edible. He feels dizzy, almost drunk on the scent. An American sergeant hands him a tray. Keep the line moving. Matthias grips it with trembling fingers. The metal is warm, comforting. It feels wrong. He moves forward, and then it happens. The moment that shatters everything he was taught. A middle-aged cook with rolled-up sleeves, freckles, and a thin smile drops a soft, thick slice of bread onto his tray. Then a spoonful of beans, a scoop of mashed potatoes, a piece of chicken, actual chicken, golden, steaming, tender. The cook nods once, friendly. Eat up, son. You boys look starved. Matthias freezes. Son, not enemy, not Nazi, not German, son. Behind him, Eric mutters under his breath, Gott im Himmel. He's staring at his own tray as if it's a hallucination. Food of this quality hasn't existed in their world for a long time. They sit at a long wooden table. No chains, no barking orders. Just a quiet understanding. Eat. Matthias picks up the bread. His hands shake so violently he nearly drops it. The crust crackles softly beneath his fingers, and when he bites into it, the taste explodes, yeast, butter, warmth, and his eyes sting with something dangerously close to tears. A soft voice beside him whispers, If this is captivity, what is home? Matthias cannot answer. He chews slowly, reverently, as if each bite is a memory he thought lost. For years, German radio had insisted Americans were vicious, cruel, barbaric. But sitting here, surrounded by food he never dreamed of tasting again, Matthias feels a cold realization settling in his bones. What if everything he believed was wrong? The days settle into a strange rhythm, one that feels more like farm life than imprisonment. Each morning the sun rises over the Texas plains, casting gold across the fields, where the German POWs work, side by side with American farmers. The guards watch, but not with malice, more like weary supervisors trying to keep order among tired laborers. Matthias shoulders a sack of feed, the coarse burlap scratching his neck. The smell of corn dust fills the air, sweet, powdery, familiar. He remembers standing with his father in their small Bavarian barn, filling troughs for their cows. But those were lean years, ration years. Scarcity had always sat like a ghost in the corner. Here, the bins overflow. Mountains of corn, piles of grain, rows of vegetables so long they vanish into the horizon. Eric's voice breaks the quiet. Do the Americans not suffer? Is there no war here? Matthias wipes sweat from his brow. It feels like a different world. A farmer named Henry Bauer approaches them, a broad man with sunburned cheeks and a smile shaped by years of harvests. What shocks the Germans most is his accent, German, soft and unmistakable. Guten Morgen, Jungs, Henry says with a grin. Good morning, boys. The POWs freeze. Henry laughs gently. Don't look so surprised. My grandparents came from Württemberg. Bauer family, same as half this county. Matthias feels his heart skip. Germans, American landowners, with German names. It doesn't fit. It cannot fit. The Reich had promised that German culture could not survive abroad. That Germans in America were oppressed, stripped of identity. Yet here stands Henry Bauer, wiping his hands on his overalls, living free, speaking their language without fear. You work hard, Henry says. When we break for lunch, you'll eat with us. Eat with them. At noon, Henry's wife brings out sandwiches, thick slices of bread stuffed with ham, cheese, tomatoes, and pickles. Real food, fresh food, a meal too indulgent to imagine back home. Matthias bites into one slowly. Flavor floods his mouth, salty, tangy, bright with mustard. For a moment, he feels dizzy with emotion. In his mind, he writes, Diary. If this is the enemy, then what have we been fighting for? The sun dips low one evening, turning the fields copper and the sky a quiet purple. Work is done, tools stacked, dust settling like a soft blanket over the camp. The POWs walk back toward the barracks in a quiet line, tired but strangely calm. Matthias's muscles ache. But it is the good ache of labor, not the hollow exhaustion of war. A guard named Corporal Willis, lanky and soft-spoken, stands by the water pump. He lifts a hand. All right, fellas, he says. Line up, wash up. Dinner's in 20. His tone is casual, almost friendly. No shouting, no humiliation. Matthias steps forward. The water splashes over his hands, cold, clean, shocking in its purity. He cups some to his face, letting it run down his cheeks. It tastes like mountain spring water, not like the muddy trenches he remembers. Eric joins him, shaking droplets from his hair. If the guards get any kinder, he jokes softly, I might forget I'm a prisoner. But beneath the humor, Matthias hears something deeper, an unsteady gratitude mixed with guilt. Inside the barracks, Corporal Willis enters carrying a crate. Got something for you boys, he says, placing it on a table. He pulls out soap, thick white bars wrapped in paper. The scent drifts through the room, faintly floral, impossibly clean. Matthias hesitates. In Germany, soap had become a luxury reserved for officers. Civilians boiled scraps of fat to make dull gray slivers. Soldiers washed with cold water in hope. Now here he stands with a bar so perfect it feels unreal in his palm. Take one each, Willis says. You're humans, not animals. The words hit harder than any blow. Humans, not animals. Matthias feels something buckle inside him. Shame, relief, confusion. He turns the soap over in his hand. The surface is smooth, holding the warmth of the room. And for a moment, he imagines his mother's hands sending him off to school, tucking a fresh bar into his satchel. A memory that feels like another life. Eric whispers, why would they treat us like this? Matthias can only shake his head. Because kindness, he realizes, is its own form of disarmament. Quiet, relentless, undeniable. Sundays bring a different rhythm. No field work, no heavy lifting. The guards allow small groups of POWs to walk under escort along the edges of nearby roads to gather firewood or help mend fences on local farms. For Matthias, these walks are the most disorienting moments of all. The air smells of cut grass and blooming clover. Tractors hum in distant fields. Children's laughter floats from farmyards where families play under cottonwood trees. Dogs bark, playfully, not in warning. Everything is untouched, unbroken, unafraid. He sees houses with fresh paint, barns in perfect repair, cars rumbling past with radios playing bright American music. Women hang laundry on lines, shirts billowing like white flags in the breeze. Eric walks beside him, silent for once. His eyes dart left and right, taking in every detail as if memorizing a foreign dream. They pass a small church with its door open. Inside, Matthias glimpses polished pews, stained glass windows, candles burning peacefully. A scene he cannot reconcile with the rubble of Dresden or the shattered market square of Aachen. The contrast is too sharp, too cruel. A pickup truck slows beside the road. The driver, an older woman with silver hair, leans out the window. You boys thirsty? She asks the guard. Before he can respond, she's already handing him a jug of lemonade and a stack of tin cups. The guard fills one and hands it to Matthias. Here, he says. Cold, be careful, it bites. Matthias drinks. The liquid is sweet, icy, stinging his throat. A luxury so simple it feels like sin. As they continue walking, he feels a weight gathering inside. His chest, like stones, dropped onto a fragile shelf. He remembers the last letter from home. The bread lines grow longer. The nights are louder. We pray for peace. How can he be standing here in sunlight while Germany starves in darkness? At the turn of the road, they pass a mailbox. The name painted on it stops Matthias cold. Bauer. The same as Henry. The same as his childhood neighbor in Bavaria. German names. German faces. German heritage. Thriving in America. Matthias whispers, did they lie to us? All this time? Eric answers quietly, painfully. Maybe they were afraid we'd ask why our enemies live better than our allies.